Hi, huge movie fanatic Nate coming at you on a February evening here in 2016. I'm going to try my best, try my hardest to do at least a batch of a few, 3, 4, 5 reviews a month at the very least. There's really no reason why I can't do that. So that's what I'm doing. I already having done a batch of reviews in January. I'm doing a batch of reviews, at least one, here in February. So the first review I'm coming at you with here is a review for the Marvel film that came out last year. I think it was the last one of last year. I think it came out in August, which is of course Ant-Man. If you saw the bloopers for 2015, you'll see that at the very end I tried to, my intention was to review it last year, but by the time I got to the end of it I was just so reviewed out for that particular batch I just said hell with it, and I figured plus it'd give me time to see it again and review the, it should be also noted that this is an Ant-Man / Ant-Man 3D Blu-ray review, so it would give me a chance to rewatch the movie and rewatch it in 3D so I can better review the movie and better review the 3D aspect of the movie. So with no further ado, let me continue or start my review of Ant-Man. So I've said before in many of these reviews of Marvel movies when Matt's not around, or even when he is around, I've said that I'm not a comic aficionado. I'm not a comic book fan. I don't know much or anything really. The only thing I know about comic book characters is from what I've seen in movies, so that's pretty much it. Back in like 1990, I read some of the Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, which were kind of cool. But apart from that, I didn't really have or don't really have any interest in comics so much. So it should be, I can only imagine that Ant-Man, I don't know if Ant-Man was a Marvel comic book character, if it's something they just made for the movie, I don't know. I would imagine they wouldn't just make something just for a movie. I imagine it would have existed, but at any rate, Paul Rudd was cast as this particular character. I can't remember his non-Ant-Man character, which is this ex-con, this burglar, like Catwoman, Catman. Of course, he's not Catman, he's Ant-Man, but pardon me, I just had some orange juice. This burglar guy who comes out of prison and all this and that and tries to get a real job and can't really do it because he's an ex-con and all this and that. I guess first off, I like Paul Rudd in like what I've called many times before the corporate comedy, Judd Apatow kind of just stuff. I think Paul Rudd's good for that stuff, and also maybe a brief part in a Halloween movie or something like that, playing an older version of Tommy Doyle. That's Donald Pleasance saying the character's name. So I don't know where the hell I was, but I will just continue with this. I think I was saying something along the lines of not too sure how I feel about Paul Rudd in this character. I think obviously he handles the comedy aspects of this movie well, but I'm not 100% convinced this is the right casting. Like Paul Rudd, goes in this particular part. I think he's better suited for, like I say, the kind of corporate comedies he's so famous for and well known for and stuff like that. So obviously I don't think it's really anything like Paul Rudd's really ever done before. I don't follow every movie he does or anything, but it's kind of different. I'm pretty sure it's his first attempt at a superhero. At any rate, I guess you should probably give him props, or his agent props, or both of them props for trying to do something different with Paul Rudd. I guess I'm still just not 100% convinced he was the guy for this part. So it's funny because by the time the movie Ant-Man came out, there's a whole like phase 1 and a majority of a phase 2 of Marvel universe movies and stuff, and by this time it's like Marvel movies are just kind of the king shit of summer blockbuster stuff, and they've been so for years, and it's almost like Ant-Man is kind of just a joke, just like if it's got Marvel before the title, Marvel's whatever, people go to see it, whether it's just Mealworm Man or Take a Dump Man or just Mosquito Man. Someone already did that movie, or Mansquito or whatever the hell that movie's called. But it almost seems like Ant-Man was kind of just a joke, just to like make fun of the paying public, and like anything, Marvel can make anything, even in a movie called Ant-Man, or my personal favorite, like Mealworm Man, I think would be really cool. But it just seems like a joke, kind of like Marvel's, thumbing their nose at the movie-going public, saying, we can make anything and just put Marvel before it, and you'll come out in droves and droves and pay premium 3D ticket prices to see it. That's kind of one thing I felt about Ant-Man when I first heard the title, not knowing anything about comics. I'm like, Ant-Man, huh? Okay. Well, like I say, I guess if it has Marvel before the title, people are going to go to see it. And long story short, having seen it at this point now 3 times, once in the drive-in and twice on 3D Blu-ray, it's a competent little movie. I actually would say I like it more than the first Avengers movie. I think it's pretty great. And before I forget, one of the reasons I really liked the movie and kind of fell for it, and I didn't really fall for it, but fall for certain aspects of it, is because Michael Douglas. I just, obviously being the age I am and pushing 40, I grew up with Michael Douglas and all this and that. He was a part of my childhood and teen years and stuff like that, and Basic Instinct and all these movies, and he was in all these movies as I was growing up. So he's kind of a face very much like Tom Cruise, which I grew up with, so it was kind of cool to see. And after, he disappeared after the, whatever supposed cancer scare or whatever, and he kind of disappeared. We didn't know if he was going to live or die and whatever. This is, besides obviously like, I imagine, what's it called? Wall Street 2. I mean, this is one of the bigger high-profile movies I think he's done. I can't remember if Wall Street 2 was before or after his supposed cancer scare thing or not, but regardless, this is for sure after it. And what I thought was particularly cool is the thing that they did at the beginning of the movie that took place like in 1989, where they, it's kind of like with Tron Legacy. I don't think they made a CG Michael Douglas, but what I think they did is kind of, Michael Douglas probably filmed those 1989 scenes, and they probably just did CG, like, makeup work to make him look, and he looked like exactly like 1989 Michael Douglas. It was really wild, and it almost made you think, gosh, actors could just be, they don't even have to put on makeup. You can be any age they want, and it'd be really cool to do that with other kind of stuff or whatever. And so, long story short, that was really cool at the 1989 segment at the very beginning of this movie, with the 1989 Michael Douglas, having him look exactly like he did back in 1989 was rather cool. I think it was really cool having Michael Douglas play this part, which in the credits is like, and Michael Douglas, but it's really weird because he's one of the, he's like pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, the second biggest star in this movie after Paul Rudd, but yet he's like, and Michael Douglas in the last credit. It's really weird. But I think he was fun. I think unlike not being 100% sure about Paul Rudd's casting, I think that Michael Douglas was perfectly cast as this part. Of course, I'm going to be biased because like I say, I grew up with him and like him and stuff like that. That Michael Douglas voice, man, is, it's just great. So, Michael Douglas, if you haven't guessed, I like in this movie, and he's really kind of cool, just being the rich, old, smart, genius inventor guy, recluse guy, who's, let him break in and all this and that. One thing I kind of rolled my eyes at the first time I saw it was just like, it seemed really slow for like a Marvel summer action movie, setting the pieces at the beginning of like, oh, he can't get a job, and gets the ice cream place and daughter. He's got to figure out a way to pay the daughter child support so he can see his daughter after. It was just kind of like blah, blah, blah. But in repeat viewings, especially the third one, I'm like, it's kind of necessary steps they have to take for this particular scenario, and it's just kind of like, oh, whatever. It's kind of lame, but we'll just go with it. I mean, I guess it's whatever. One thing I didn't really like about the movie was so much is done now in contemporary pop culture is celebrating more or less kind of ghetto gangland culture and all that kind of stuff, and perhaps maybe to a certain extent mocking it, but I think it was mocking / celebrating at the same time. You can't really celebrate it without mocking yourself as that particular whatever anyway. But yeah, I wasn't too keen on like that particular gang Mexican guy, and wasn't really funny. It was just annoying, and he had those 2 annoying parts at the beginning and at the very end where he's telling a story and whatever. It's supposed to be funny, just kind of annoying. So anyway, long story short, it was, once the movie got going and you got the, I guess it was competently written, conceived, and executed. Pretty cool. I guess we'll just leave it at that. Obviously, besides just whatever, the amazing. It's funny because it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like Inner Space. Remember in the '80s and stuff when they did Inner Space. I mean, I grew up with Fantastic Voyage and Inner Space, and in a lot of ways, it's something like that. You know, so many Marvel movies have done epic and big, normal man-sized, or Hulk-sized, or Iron Man-sized, or Hulkbuster size. You know, normal size scale, and it's kind of interesting to go to shrink a Marvel movie down and just have a whole battle scene take place on a table with a plastic choo-choo train going around in a circle. So it's kind of an interesting, different, you know, venture at the end of the day. And obviously the shrinking stuff is fantastic, and the just the shrink scenes and the. I had no idea before I saw the movie that he was gonna also, you know, I thought it was just gonna be a guy running around as a small guy, and it's just like, whatever, how are you gonna do that? But when you watch the movie and you see that they can control the ants and all the different kinds of ants, flying ants, and the ants that are fire ants, crazy ants, and whatever other ants, was very cool. And they got the ant that he rides that flies around, and being able to control the ants with your mind and all this stuff to have them help you, and was really an unexpected twist that was really kind of darn cool. So long story short, we're gonna go half of a star. I think it's a half of a star, or no, it's a quarter of a star more than I did on the original Avengers movies. So I'm gonna go 2 3/4 stars out of 4 for Ant-Man. I thought that on the third viewing, first and second, I was just kind of like, but by the time I watched it for a third time, second time in 3D, I'm like, you know what, this is pretty cool. And that woman, you know, that Michael Douglas's daughter, I don't know where, you know. Well, granted, I don't watch TV or a lot of movies or anything, but I never seen her before, and wow, she's kind of cute, I guess. So I don't know who the hell she is or where she came from, or if she's from TV, sitcoms, movies that I don't see or whatever. But wow, she's kind of cute. All around, rather competent movie. It's got eye roll moments, particularly with just the, you know, Mexican ghetto guy stuff. But whatever, you know, you gotta have something to roll your eyes at so you can stay and practice with eye rolling, I guess. So that's my thoughts about Ant-Man, and now on to the review of the 3D Blu-ray. I mean, obviously the day it came out, the 3D Blu-ray of Ant-Man was, you know, $20. So I mean, it's really hard for me to turn down a $20 3D Blu-ray, especially in such a high-profile Marvel movie. So I just went for it, having only seen it once. I figured that the movie in 3D on Blu-ray would be $20, so I only saw it once, expecting to buy it. And be able to see it in 3D at home. 3D Blu-ray, you know, at blue-ray.com, I think there's people who have like 3 stages, or like light, medium, and heavy as far as depth. So I mean, this one is definitely medium. Actually, it's medium to strong, leaning, you know, probably more towards strong. The 3D and this 3D Blu-ray is just positively phenomenal. Obviously, I'm assuming I'm not really, I didn't really look into it, but I'm assuming everything is pretty much a conversion nowadays, so I'm just assuming it's a conversion. I'm assuming the movie's shot, you know, digitally and converted, but obviously these days 3D conversions look just as good as natively shot 3D anyway, but highly recommended. I mean, the 3D really, as one would imagine it would, really makes like the miniature, you know, going through the ant, you know, whatever, and the miniature stuff and all the little particles of glass, and just the going in the ant tunnels and the water ride down the tube to the, I mean, this is almost like, you know, a lot of 3D movies you can kind of take it or leave it, but Ant-Man is really a movie that I think almost demands to be seen in 3D, because it really enhances that miniature, super small size aspect, and really takes advantage of it and really makes it a phenomenal thing. Also, obviously, I'm a fan of the aspect ratio being like 1:8:5, the whole 16:9. It fills up your whole screen, which I prefer for really, well, especially 3D movies. I really don't like it when a 3D movie at home has the black bars. I just feel like, you know, kind of like James Cameron did, where he opened up the, you know, the thing for the home video version. I wish when a movie's 3D, everyone would do that at home, because I just don't like the black bars in 3D. So highly recommended. It's medium to mostly strong. I mean, I'd lean more towards mostly strong 3D. It's pretty phenomenal. On my particular Sony 3D Blu-ray player, like when you pause it or slow-mo it, it goes from 3D to 2D. Sometimes I really like to slow-mo 3D scenes, so it's like, oh wow, how'd they do that? But when you either you pause it or slow-mo it, at least on my machine, it goes to 2D, which really pisses me off. So feel free to let me know if that happens with you, or if it's just, it could very well be my particular player and or TV setup or whatever. But for $20, yeah, on the day it comes out, I'm going to get Ant-Man Blu-ray 3D, so I did, and it's kind of cool having seen it for the third time. I think this review went longer than I intended, but when you do a movie slash 3D Blu-ray review, that tends to happen. So an overall solid movie. The beginning of the movie, even second, third time, does lag, and I kind of was playing the editor in my mind when I was watching it this third time, like watching it. The beginning of the slow part of the beginning movie, it's like, yeah, you can't really cut that. You can't really, as much as you'd want to. It's kind of like all that slow stuff at the beginning needs to be there to set the thing, the story and stuff like that. So whatever, I'll let it slide. But I guess I wish maybe some of that stuff could have been whatever, different or something like that. But long story short, highly recommended 3D Blu-ray, obviously. I don't know what it costs now to get it. I imagine it's obviously more than $20 to get now. I'm really surprised that Disney lets those things be only $20 when they come on the day they come out, because usually Disney's just wants all the money, and I'm surprised that they even let them be $20 when they come out. But highly recommended 3D Blu-ray, and mostly kind of recommended just kill your mind and just watch a movie for like almost 2 hours. If you're a fan, obviously, of Fantastic Voyage and Inner Space and movies like that, you'll probably be a fan of this. Oh, one thing in closing that I thought was absolutely fantastic, it was almost like almost wish I had some LSD or something like that. Not really, it was a joke, but was the whole idea of the going subatomic. I thought was absolutely fantastic in the very end, when it was almost just trippy, man, when he did that in order to get into the bad guy wearing the yellow jacket suit, which was also a cool idea for a name for a bad guy, or just a small miniature suit for yellow jacket being the name of a bee, of course. But him going subatomic and risking his life to go into the bad guy's suits to save his daughter and the stepfather or whoever the hell the guy was really cool. And seeing him just go like blah, 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 into all these infinities and into nothing, and just like reminded me of the end of Black Hole with echoes like in through and beyond. But Amy wasn't. That was I was gonna say Angus Scrimm, Maximilian Schell from Black Hole, but he had the same echoey stuff from lines earlier in the movie that he was hearing of Michael Douglas saying about whatever. But I gotta tell you, the movie finishing up with that little moment where the Paul Rudd's character goes subatomic and just goes into all these infinite just this, that was really cool and kind of blew your mind. And I really kind of almost respect the movie more just for that one little part. It was really kind of a trip, obviously, knowing that he's going to come back because they got to do Ant-Man 2 or whatever, have him be in the Avengers movie or whatever they have planned. But I'm sorry, I didn't intend to go this long on Ant-Man. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I was kind of talking fast, so it'd be shorter and take less long to upload. But that's my review of Ant-Man and 3D Ant-Man Blu-ray. I guess we'll cut it there because I've already said way too much. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.